Thank you, Wilson. Hi, everybody. Todd here. I want to talk today a little bit about my experience using psilocybin mushrooms therapy. I don't know how long this will be. My intent is to explain a little bit about why I was going to do it, the experience itself, the setup, and the after. I hope you understand that I'm going to spend a lot more time talking about before and after as opposed to during, just due to the fact that everybody's going to have a different experience. To start, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a therapist. This is all my experience. This is nothing about anyone else's experience, so I hope you understand that what I say is my personal experience on this, and I hope you may get something from it. Joining me today apparently is Jolene, my cat. So when mushroom or psychedelic assisted therapy was legalized in the state of Oregon, I was very interested about what that meant. And I started doing some homework, and it seemed like the right fit for me to look into. I started digging into it. I read a book called How to Change Your Mind. I talked to multiple therapists about the process and how it worked. It just seemed like the right fit for me. The reason that I wanted to do it was I've battled a lot of demons through my life, emotionally, anxiety, some levels of depression, just stuff that I couldn't get through, a lot of regret, concern about the future, never feeling comfortable and calm in my own skin, and I'm sure a lot of people could understand that. So that's what I was looking to fix. I've been going to therapy on and off for about the last 15 years, and I think it's fantastic. I think you should do therapy, and at the same time, I think there's some room to say that talk therapy, if you just keep doing that alone, for me personally, it just wasn't enough. It was just kind of going over the same old thing without any movement, and that's why this made more sense to me. I've also been on medication for a number of years, 2 different kinds, SSRIs specifically, and I've been lowering those prescriptions for some years. I went from 2 down to 1, and I've halved the dose per day. My goal is to be completely free of those in the next year or so. I think they're a wonderful tool, but once again, if you just live on them, it doesn't make sense. That's my dog. Wilson, thank you, buddy. Wilson, thanks, buddy. Come here. Wilson, thank you. Come on. And so we've, with that, so all of these combined, I decided that it made sense. So I started talking a little bit more about what I could do. And I had this wonderful experience to look at a local company that had a facility for this, and I wanted to see what it was like. And so the way it worked was I filled out a form online, explained a little bit about what I wanted to do, why I was interested in all that, and then they reached out the next day and talked to me. And I had about a 30-minute call with one of the team members just to get an idea of what made sense, what was going on in my world, and what the process was to do this. From there, it made a lot of sense. I was really interested. She provided me some more documentation and some therapists on the team that might be the right fit for me. I reviewed their information. It made more and more sense. I said, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger and we're going to move forward with this. When I did that, I was then contacted again, and then I was able to set up some time to speak and have calls with any therapist that I wanted on their team to explain what was going on and see what the right fit was. I selected one individual. I think she was a right fit for me and my needs. I was really happy about that. And I met her on site. We had about an hour session, the therapist and I, about what was going on in my world, some things that I wanted to focus on, what I wanted to get out of the experience, and we talked about all the logistics as well, and just making sure that we were all comfortable. At that point, once we talked about that, we went around to each one of the rooms that medicated therapy sessions would be allowed in. So we'd go into each one of these rooms and look at them and see which one was the right one for me. I found the room that was right. I explained some things that make me feel comfortable. So they set up a zero gravity chair, one that leans back, really comfortable. It's much like a recliner, but it just leans back a little bit differently. And a small bed on the floor in case I needed to lay down or desired to lay down. So that was the setup. We talked about it, made sure everything was done. She gave me some rules of things that I should and shouldn't do in the time period beforehand. All really easy stuff to deal with. And the day of, it's a very specific expectation that you're going to show up at a certain time. Someone's going to drop you off, and they're going to pick you up. The forms that they also make you fill out are quite extensive in regards to, if this person can't pick you up, who's the next person we're contacting? What are your needs? What is comfortable for you? Is it okay to hold your hand? Is it okay for a hug? Is it okay to speak in this way? Like saying certain things to make you as comfortable as possible on the day of. And they want to make sure logistically that everything's taken care of after, to make sure that you're well and taken care of. So day of, come in, have a nice cup of tea. My wife drops me off. I go in into the room, very calm. Nice ambient music that helps with the progress. Really nice, in fact. So I go in, I consume the psilocybin mushrooms, and as this occurs, you also are wearing eye mask. Rationale behind that is you're really focusing on going within as opposed to just looking at pretty colors. After about an hour and a half, you can have an additional dose of medication to have that to expand your experience. It's really based on what you're willing to do. If you're really willing to let go and really focus on within. If you're really uncomfortable with it, they give you a much lower dose, basically just to make sure that you're not in a situation where you feel like you're untethered. In my case, I was really excited about it. I was really interested. I'd done enough homework and I was comfortable enough to say that I wanted to be untethered. So I got a robust amount. During it, personally, the experience of during was really interesting and kind and thoughtful because I was in that safe space. When I was in a place where I was having too large of a feeling or too big of emotion, my therapist would change the tone of the room by colored lighting or by sounds that would change my mood so that I was in a very healthy place. I was allowed to kind of move freely within the room if I so chose in a safe manner because I had somebody there that was an actual therapist, somebody that actually knew what they were doing to make sure that I was in a safe and healthy place. Everyone's experience obviously would be so much different than mine. So in short form, my experience during was levels of love that you could not express and you would always want, and euphoria. So it was just these wonderful waves of experience that really allowed me to release a lot of experience and a lot of feelings. And it was very much a wonderful experience. So I don't want to go too much into what I saw during because everybody's going to have a different experience because what I needed was different than what you might need. But what I needed, let me rephrase this. I received in a way I did not expect. I feel like you go in with this mindset of, oh, well, this is going to happen, and it absolutely is not what happens. The end result might be the same, but the experience may be completely different. So that's what happened to me. I really enjoyed that. Having that person there that walked you through in a thoughtful manner, that talked you through things as needed, and made sure that you are in an exceptionally comfortable place, was the reason that I wanted to do this, and it was very successful. As I was kind of coming out, there was a little bit more talking during the experience, and it was lovely. And while I was talking different points, my therapist was writing down notes so that she can send those to me via email about what I did and what my experience was, so that I had a little bit more in my head. And it was really helpful. So finishing the experience, it starts becoming, they make it very calm. You're first taking off the mask. Spend some time in that position where you're seeing the world outside. Next is they change the lighting in a room so it gets a little bit more bright. The next step is maybe talking a little bit more. Next step is opening the door. Next step is, it's just these slow movements so that you're not going from one place to the other at a rapid pace, so that you're really kind of consuming and digesting this experience as best as possible. When I was okay enough to be let go, about 8 hours through, my wife came and picked me up, and we went and we stayed at an off-site location that we rented, not associated, but just like a rental for that Friday night and that Saturday night, with the rationale that I wanted to have these deep conversations and meaningful conversations without any outside inputs to have these conversations. That night, my therapist sent me an email with all the things that I said and talked about, so I could go through them. They strongly suggest journaling, which I started doing and writing some notes and thoughts about my experience. And that was a huge thing. My wife and I, at the same time, the next day, as I was talking about things, because when I was finished, I was completely worn out. I slept 12 hours Friday night and Saturday night. I was so completely worn out that I couldn't express myself anymore. It was so tiring. We just spent time talking about my experience, what it meant to me, what it meant to our family, what I could do better as a person, and things I took away from it. And the things that I took away from it, I'll get back to that one more thing. A week later, I spent an hour again with my therapist talking more about it, things that I needed, resources I needed or wanted, and how I can continue pursuing what I wanted, which is fantastic. Postscript, what I received from this experience. One, my level of regret about certain things in my life has decreased significantly. I can't explain it, but that's a major thing that came to me in this experience. Number two, my level of, I'd say those stressors, how I look at the world. I've been told recently that a lot of people look at the world and they're at a 9 every day. So one thing happens and they just fly off the handle. And I knew that was me, and I knew that wasn't the right way to treat my children. And I feel like I've gone from a 9 down to a 7 or a 6. And I think that's a huge deal. I have given myself a lot more grace for failure, and looking at many more things as a practice as opposed to a good or bad, win or lose situation. I have made some decisions in my life that make sense for health-wise. For instance, I am looking at how to do certain things every month to make sure that I have my social interactions taken care of, my physical interactions taken care of, and how to remove parts of myself that are not healthy for myself or my family. This is a practice, and now I'm starting to realize that more and more. And I'm really happy that I did it. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Would I do it again in the next month? No, no way. This is one of those things that you'd want to do, if possible, once every 2 years. And the more of a experience that you could have where everything's taken care of for you, that would be a really good thing for me. So if I ever did it again, I'd probably do it in a place where I stayed on site and then had the experience and then stayed there for the weekend. That would be something that would make sense for me, because the world is a wonderful place and the busyness of it sometimes needs to go away so you can look at some truths that you may not realize. And that's what I gained from it. If you ever want to talk about the experience, I'd love to. And some details, I'd be happy to. But I just wanted to tell you my experience on it and how wonderful of a thing this type of therapy was for me. And maybe it's going to be great for you. Maybe it's not. It's all up to the individual. But I'm so happy that we have the option. And that's about it for now. Thanks so much. I hope you're having a great day. And feel free to reach out. Ugh.